Hello, and welcome to the RIA Tech Talk podcast brought to you by RIA WorkSpace. I'm Todd DeRoca, and of course, always with me is David Kakish, and together we're on a mission to simplify the complex world of technology for RIAs just like yours. In the podcast, we'll be your tech guides breaking down those often confusing tech topics into plain and practical terms. And so we hope you join us, subscribe, follow us, all that good stuff for each episode as we dive into the latest tech trends, share our expert insights, and help you navigate the ever-changing world of RIA technology. David, good to see you again. Glad we're here today. It sounds like today our listener may need to take out a notebook or a laptop or an iPad and take some notes because we have a case study today. Is that right?
Sounds good. Yes. Hey, Todd, it's always mesmerizing listening to you and your DJ or radio voice, so I'm always
I had a
mesmerized when you do the intro. It's a lot of fun. Yes, we are doing a case study today. It's turning IT frustrations into freedom. This is a 13-person RIA, and it's very typical of what many RIAs out there how they're living and how they're doing things when it comes to IT and IT compliance and cybersecurity. We'll keep the company name confidential because there's just out of respect for this client. But yeah, they had some major challenges and frustrations and didn't know where to turn or what to do, or even know that, oh wow, this could be so much better. Like it's night and day.
right.
And yeah, I'm happy to talk about that and kind of how this client overcame those challenges. And then I think, you can take this info and do it yourself, or you can call us. We're happy to help. But key at the end, I'm going to share with you the two most important questions you're going to want to ask when you hire a new IT provider. So stay on till the end. This is my way to keep you on until the end, so.
Yeah. We don't have big gifts, people, but we do have a secret answer to give you at the end. So.
Yeah, we'll reveal the secret at the end here in like 15 minutes or so.
And so as David goes through the case study today, it's a really good meaty one. We've got several resources that we're going to stick in the podcast notes. So if you're whatever podcast network you're on, you'll see those notes in the description, and we'll make sure this is also online at riaworkspace.com, and you'll just search for our podcast and we'll have these links in there. So good things to download, take notes on. But hey, let's go ahead and jump right into the case study, David. And we're starting with Mary.
Yes.
Tell us about Mary and kind of what you saw.
Mary is a real person, but that is a fictitious name. I just want to put that out there. We want to protect this client. So they're based out of Dallas. They've got 4 offices. And these are like shared office spaces. Like I can't remember if it was Regis or WeWork, but one of these places. So it was Dallas, Denver, San Diego, and Minneapolis. 13 employees. Mary was the director of operations, or she still is, or at least she was supposed to be the director of operations, and she became the in-house company IT guy, right?
That goes under the list of other tasks in a job description, for Mary.
Exactly. So kind of typical, right? And the biggest challenge is the IT provider or the MSP she was working with did not focus on RIAs, and they just became terrible. So when they first started working with them, they were good. They had a really good support person that they can go to. And then as the company changed and that one person left, it just became a total nightmare. And she was spending so much time on being tech support for her internal team and then managing that IT provider. And we're joking, we're saying she was the director of operations, right? And she ended up spending so much of that time on just IT, and it became really frustrating for her. So that's probably kind of like, if I were to say what's the main thing, that was kind of that was the main thing that had that was going on there. So, but there were other challenges and other pain points, but that was
Got it.
that was one that was like carrying the most weight on her shoulders.
How common is that, David, for all good intents and purposes, these IT providers hop into a company that has an RIA and then they just get overwhelmed once they start getting into it because they've never dealt with that type of volume or just type of business. How often do you see that?
Actually a lot. And the reason is it's not so much that type of volume, because it's not like RIAs have, like a lot of requests and volume and stuff like that. It's that type of business. And what I mean by that is, okay, this company 13 employees, right? Their
Hmm.
requirements for like cybersecurity and IT compliance isn't like that business with 13 employees across the street. Their requirements are much, much, much bigger. So if you think about like an enterprise business or a big business, they have hundreds or even thousands of employees. You as an RIA with 5 employees, 13, 30 employees, you have the same requirements as that really big enterprise when it comes to cybersecurity and IT compliance. And just a lot of times that IT provider becomes overwhelmed because you're talking about enterprise security and they're used to providing what I would call small or mid-sized business security. And
Hmm.
it's just they just don't bridge the gap. And it's not that for that IT provider security is not important. They just don't realize it's exponentially more important for that, for that RIA, for your RIA.
Right, right. All right, so let's dive into the challenge that the challenges and pain points that she was talking to you about, or that you discovered when you sat down with Mary.
Yeah, so she was like I said, she was spending so much time on IT. She was doing the tech support, she was managing the IT provider, and it became for her, it was almost like 2/3 of her time. It's like, this is
Jeez.
crazy. Like, I'm
Yeah.
spending 2/3 of my time on this. And then she just had that, discussion with the owner and said, hey, look, here's what's going on. And so that was the big part of it. But why is that, right? So the
Hmm.
IT provider that she was working with did not understand the RIA vertical, the SEC requirements. There was no proactive advice. There was no like roadmap or anything like that. Again, good techs, good people. Um, but that's kind of what happened. And then I think they kind of, they were that with that company for quite a while because they had a good primary person. And then that primary person left and they're like, all right, who's supporting us? Who are we working with? And it just, yeah, it was just chaos.
Yeah.
So that's she didn't have an assigned team, right? Just like anybody would help, and then it's almost like I call in and I would start from zero with every new rep that's answering the phone to try to help me with
Ugh,
something. So yeah,
that's terrible. Yeah, ugh, I
yeah.
hate over and over and over and over and over again telling you the problems or the goals and
Yep,
oh,
yep,
Mary.
exactly. Yeah, and it gets really frustrating. And there were some other things that she also wanted. She's like, hey, listen, it would be really nice for us to have single sign-on for our web-based application. So if you think about like a typical RIA, they're using anywhere, your RIA is using anywhere, let's just say from 5 to 10 web-based applications. Think Wealthbox, eMoney, Orion, things like that. It would be really nice for employees to be productive where they can come in and they can see a dashboard and access these web-based applications, but also, more security. Like the OneDrive and SharePoint sync issues, it was a mess. It was terrible. She would go to them, they would fix it, it would happen again, and stuff like
Yes.
that. That IT provider was not managing her Microsoft licenses. She was overwhelmed. She's like, what are all these licenses? The other thing that was very visible was like the employee onboarding and offboarding. And by the way, I hear this one a lot. It's a nightmare. So you hire a new employee, it takes hours, days, and sometimes weeks.
Yeah.
I kid you not, like weeks to set up a new employee with all the tech. And the problem is it's painful for her, but
Yeah.
it's also embarrassing, right? We just hired Todd to work at our RIA, and when the tech, isn't set up right, it's a reflection of our company, right, as an
Yeah.
RIA. And so they were kind of like embarrassed. They're like, man, we need to like recruit and hire quality people. We're not going to bring them in and all the tech is, not working. And oh yeah, your computer is set up, but I can't email and, just different things like that. And then the big part of that also is the offboarding. Like when they let go of an employee, they didn't have the confidence that that person was completely locked out of the systems. So they had some cybersecurity and IT compliance concerns, right? And just did not have faith in that. And then what is that? I think Bill Gates has a book called, The Speed of Trust, right? Like if you trust the other person or the other company, just business happens faster. And when you
Yep.
don't have that trust, it just evaporates
Yeah.
really, really, really fast. So, anyways, like I went through like a slew of things. And
Yeah.
I know that this is sort of all, with this one client, but it's not uncommon.
I
Most
was
of the
gonna ask
time,
you, is this, is this typical? Like, is Mary asking for the moon here, or is this, kind of the basic fundamental stuff, or just basic stuff that you hear day in and day out?
No, Mary's not asking for the moon for us, and I'll talk about what we did and how she works today, so you can, so the listener can have a better understanding of that. But what's somewhat not typical in Mary's situation, I mentioned like 7 or 9 things, right? They
Yep.
had the 7 or 9 things going. Most other RIAs that want to make the change, they have 2 or 3 things going on. They're like, all right, we got to
Wow.
find a partner because of that. But in this case, that's why it's a great case study, because it's like, hang on, it's like the 9 things, that are happening, and all 9 things were happening, right?
Jeez.
Most of the time, again, like I said, there's 2 or 3 things that are just consistently happening at that RIA, saying, hey, I want to go ahead and I want to find a new provider, an IT provider, because of that. So
Right. So what did you guys do? Let's tackle it kind of bit by bit here. So one of the first things that she was, doing that was, she didn't like doing was spending so much time on the IT side of things, doing tech support, managing the MSP. So what did you guys do to give her that time back?
yeah, absolutely. So I would say, our biggest success, the biggest success, and what she loves was that she was completely freed up, right? And when you think about like technology and IT, I jokingly tell people it's kind of like, and cybersecurity, it's kind of like air you're breathing, and as long as you're breathing, everything's okay. But then the second
Hmm.
you can't breathe, like 2 minutes, you're dead. And it's the same thing with technology. Like if it's working, like life is fantastic, right? But if you're having email issues and your emails are not going through, or whatever, you can't work, you can't be productive, and it just happens. And so the problem happens is, like with the old provider, it doesn't get fixed the first time, and then she follows up, and then she has to manage them, and it's like, oh my goodness. And so it's just it like she became part-time tech support, because she was telling me this. It's like, it's a lot faster for me to solve it rather than to call them to solve the problem,
Yeah.
which
So you
is
literally like took
insane.
her out of the equation. You kind of like lifted her up and said, "Hey, look,
Yeah,
my
yeah,
team's
yeah,
got you.
yeah.
Don't
Because
worry about it
because when
anymore."
things are working well, you don't have to manage that partner. What happens is, all right, let's have weekly meetings to talk about the service tickets, or what's going. Like, why are you having weekly meetings? You'd rather not have those, right? Let's
Yeah.
have quarterly technology reviews, or let's have strategic meetings, not like, hey, what fires are we putting out, right? Like those should just be put out, and you're not
Yeah.
dealing with any of that right there. So that was probably the big thing. She loves it because she's freed up. She's not spending 2/3 of her time on IT and tech support. And at the same time, she's not spending all this time managing and following up with that IT with us, because these things just, they're done. So
Right. And you take
yeah.
care of all the compliance issues, all that stuff. That's all, again, along with the tech part, the compliance and regulatory
Yeah, I
stuff
would
is
say
all
I would just add the IT compliance, right? I'm careful to
got it.
say that. Yeah, yeah, the IT compliance, exactly. And then some of the other things that we did during the onboarding process that she just absolutely loved. So during the onboarding process, the first 30 days of working together, we set her up and her team with web single sign-on for all the web-based applications. So now the entire team, they don't need to manually log into redtail.com with their own username and password, and Salesforce and eMoney and Orion and so on. Now they come in, they open up their browser, and it's right there. It's a dashboard, and actually it makes them look really good, because it feels like they're providing a dashboard for their own employees where they
Yeah.
can access all these web-based applications, right? And then I hear this a lot, yeah, and this, if you're working like in SharePoint and OneDrive, you probably
Hmm.
have a lot of sync issues. Uh,
Yep.
it happens all the time, and just clients come to us, and we just make those things disappear. And the problem is, it's not like, if it's not set up right, right, or if you don't know, if somebody you're working with doesn't understand the high level of this, you're constantly going to have these issues, right? And our clients just don't have those. Um, the other thing that she absolutely loves, Mary loves that she has an assigned team. She's working with the same team members on a regular basis. So we've got 20 team members, but she's not like randomly assigned. She doesn't talk to Todd one day, David the other day, Bob and
Right.
Scott and stuff. She's talking to the same team members on a regular basis. And that's great for her. It's great for us. We don't need to reinvent the wheel on every single phone call. And that, by the way,
Yeah.
that's a big complaint with a lot of people that are reaching out to us. So
Yeah. Well, that's nice. I mean, again, if they have a problem, Mary doesn't have to re-explain something. The two team members are just, oh yeah, Mary, yeah, we got you.
yeah,
Let's dive into that. That's good.
yeah, yeah. And
And
then
back
there's
to the
camaraderie. They know each other,
yeah.
right? It's like, it's like a partner relationship. It's not like 1-800 no help,
Yeah. So, and then for the single sign-on, I want to go back to that real fast.
Yeah.
It with single sign-on, this also helps with the offboarding of employees, right? Because now there is a kind of a guarantee, or not a guarantee, but like a really safe bet that everything has been taken off of that outgoing employee, so they don't have any access to everything. It's not going through all the programs. It's literally just going through single sign-on and removing them from all those
Yeah,
applications.
exactly. I'll make it simple for you. Scenario A is when an RIA like yours doesn't have single sign-on. Scenario B is an
Mhm.
RIA like me. We have single sign-on for the web-based applications. Todd, in your scenario A, where your RIA does not have single sign-on for web-based applications, what's going to happen is you've got somebody on your team that has a spreadsheet. What does Todd have access to? Salesforce, eMoney, Wealthbox, Orion, has to go through the FedEx, maybe, I don't know, right? And
Right.
so when they let go of Todd or Todd leaves, it's a manual process. Let me go in, let me disable them accessing their computer, their iPhone, this application, that application, this and that. In our case, with web-based single sign-on, we disable their main account. They're not able to access their computer. They're not able to access their email on their iPhone or anything work-related. They're not able to access any of these web-based applications, Wealthbox, Redtail, Orion, and things like that. So you are absolutely right.
Nice. So let's go back. Let's get back into again the some more solutions that you gave to Mary or brought to the table for her. And one of the things that she wasn't doing well, and not for her own, not to blame her, but the Microsoft licenses,
Yeah.
pretty complex, big mess going on there. What'd you guys do there?
Yeah, it was overwhelming, and I guess for us, we just manage that for our clients, right?
Hmm.
Because for us, it's just part of what we do. And the funny part is, we love doing that for our clients to clean it up, because I don't think Microsoft needs more of our money, or your money. I think Microsoft's got plenty. Their profit margins are
Uh,
very high, So
yeah.
we're trying to make sure that, and this is, I'm telling you, this is so common when you look at the Microsoft licensing, right? You're like, oh crap, we've been paying this thing for like 3 years and we haven't used this. And it's like throwing money out the window, flushing
Yeah,
money
all
down
the
the
features that
toilet.
you could use and the products and within that licensing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's not just that, but it's like, oh, they have this license for this and this and that, and they're not using it. Or somebody
Oh,
hadn't
gotcha.
worked there for 3 years and they're still paying for them, and stuff like that. And it's just, it kind of gets complicated, but yeah, that's kind of what
Was
happened.
she, when you went to Mary and said, "Hey, look, you're not even using these things, or you're not taking advantage of this on your license," what was her reaction? Did she kind of get that, or was she like, "Oh crap, like that's a
So I'm not on those calls once the onboarding is done, where there's our onboarding team and they work with her. But
got
I can only imagine what it's like, to be fair. It's like,
it."
like there's parts, they're embarrassed a little bit, because like, oh man, we've been paying this for so long. And then, they're like, they're pissed off and annoyed at their own,
Yeah.
or even more, right? And we're not trying to put salt on a wound, right? We're trying to basically say, hey, look, it late's better than never, is all I'm gonna
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. So now that she, I think the other thing that I want to touch on here is, you take away this, not only the technical, tactical side of things for her, but you're also looking to the future and like making sure that she's staying, up to date.
Exactly.
So what did you guys do there to, I guess, get her ready for the future, or be prepared for anything if it changes?
Yeah, so built into our model. So, after we work together, right, usually 90 days, at the 90-day mark or so, we're going to do what's called a strategic technology review. And that's a way for us to, provide you with proactive advice. And
Hmm.
then, depending on your size as an RIA, we're going to do 1 to 2 times per year where we have that strategic technology review. So in addition to getting like a monthly executive summary report and some of the other stuff, we actually want to sit down with you, let's just say twice a year, where we say, hey, Todd, let's look at all of your IT infrastructure, cybersecurity, IT compliance, and things like that, and put that in a red light, green light, orange light category at a really high level, right? It's
Hmm.
not meant to be like a highly technical discussion. It's meant to be a business technology discussion. And then we just take everything that you have and everything we're doing, and we're saying, okay, is this green? Is this orange? Is this red? Right?
Right.
And then that also gives us the opportunity to talk about what's going on in the industry or what's coming. So that's something by default that we're doing with our clients twice a year. And there are other things like that that we do. Like, I don't want to bore people to death, but we do like the backup and disaster recovery. We do a fire drill twice a year, right?
Huh.
Hey, can we recover the backup, right? And then, hey, here's the fire drill, and then we share the reports and the data with our clients. We just do these things by default because we want to make sure we have that. So yeah, it's just a great way to do that. Like one of the big things right now we're talking with a lot of our clients about, and I've mentioned that to you in the past, is, hey, you don't have data loss prevention for your email. What I mean by that is, if your employee sends out an email with a social security number, account number, passport number, or so on, right? We want to make sure that either that's prevented from going out or that it's encrypted, right? And that we automate that whole process. So
Right.
these are the kind of things we talk about, right? But it's literally a 1 hour session where the technical account manager will sit typically with the CCO, the Chief Compliance Officer, or anybody else on the team, and say, hey, here's a review of your entire environment. Here's what's in green, here's what's in red. And then here's what's coming up, and then just kind of have that strategic technology discussion. We don't think it's rocket science. We like having it, our clients like having it, but I'm just amazed at how many other people don't have that. So
Right. And how do you keep your team internally, like let's say, there could be feedback for the team that, Mary was like, hey, this isn't going as well. Is there that constant communication and evaluation that you do to make sure, and obviously you probably do, but that Mary can at least give feedback and make those adjustments, and you guys internally can make those adjustments?
yeah, of course. Yeah. So again, the assigned team, we absolutely love. Again, we're 20 people, but each client basically gets assigned 3 team members. We absolutely love this for our clients, and then we absolutely love it for our team, right? There's just a sense of ownership. There's a sense of community, camaraderie. It's kind of weird, right? Because like we're technically a vendor, but we
Hmm.
don't like to use the word vendor. We're more of a partner, right? And you start working
Yeah.
together, you're like, wow, okay. And it's almost like an extension of your employees, right? It's pretty cool. And we love it. I don't know why other people don't do that, but hey, I guess that's why we're here, and that's why people do business with us.
That's right.
So now you asked to really, and that right there is like the core, the core piece. But again, we're human, we make mistakes. And what we have is we call it a smile back report, but basically it's a customer satisfaction report. So at the end of every request we complete, you and your employees, you can rate us green, yellow, or red.
Hmm.
And so at the end of it, and it's easy, it's just a little emoji. And so all of our clients are able to rate us. And like in this, and we do really well. Our CSAT score tends to be like 98% plus. But in
Nice.
the event that we get a yellow or a red, and it happens, and it's okay. Um, our service manager is going to get on the phone and say, "Hey, Todd, I noticed you gave me a yellow or a red. You gave a team member a yellow or a
Right.
red. We're very sorry about that. Is there something that we can do to fix this? And then how can we prevent that in the future?" Right?
And your team
Um,
actually looks at these things like in these
yeah.
bigger companies, they probably, like, oh, okay, there it was. But it sounds like you've got that again, partnership feel and
Yeah.
a kind of a relationship, family kind of based internal team that does look at those surveys, and it sounds like they do follow up if something
Yeah,
kind of goes
yeah. So
haywire
we
there.
we obsess over that. That's a great. That's great. I didn't even think about that. Other companies have it, but it's like, yeah, whatever. So we
Yeah,
actually look at that every single day, every week, every month, every quarter, and every year. I can
yeah,
tell you, our team, when we get a yellow or a red, our team knows it, and they're like, oh my goodness, I got a yellow or I
ugh,
got a red, and that's exactly what we want, right? Like again, mistakes happen. It's just that when it does happen, how can we catch it? How can we take care of it? And
yeah.
Todd, you're gonna laugh. Sometimes they'll give us like a yellow or a red because the internet's out because of their internet service
Oh
provider.
gosh.
And then they'll reply like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to give you a red. And it's just like, but that's the type of relationship that it is, right? Like, and you get a sense of that, and that's what a lot of RIAs want, right? They're like, look, I like, listen, I want my stuff to work, but when it doesn't work, I want fast response, and I want to work with somebody that I know. I don't want to be calling, 1-800 Microsoft or 1-800 Amazon
Yeah,
or whatever. So
yeah,
yeah, and like just to share, like this specific client, I'm looking at her report right now. Okay,
yeah.
she gave us a total of 39 so far, 39 reviews, I think, for what, in the last 6 months. or year. Yeah, in the last year,
Wow.
she gave us her and the team gave us 39 reviews. 39 are green, 0 is yellow, and 0 is red. And here's what's
Oh,
amazing: the response rate is 72%. So out of every 10,
wow. That's
they're
that's
responding to
high.
7.
If
Yeah.
anybody's like, well, 72 is a C. No, that's high, folks.
Yeah,
That is
exactly. Well,
wow.
I was showing this to a prospect once, and they saw that our response rate was like 33.3% across the board. And he goes, "Hang
Yeah.
on, is that real or is that made up?" Because he knows these smile back reports typically, like in other industries, it's like less than 1%, right?
Yeah.
And so actually, to be fair, our average response time on those is like 1/3, so about 33%, which is really, really, really high because industry average is more like 1 to 2%,
Yeah.
but also we're different, right? Because the clients we work with, I mean, we work with them on a regular basis. This is not, they know each other, so.
Right.
But anyways, I
S-
digress. I can talk about this stuff forever because it's and here's a piece of business advice. We rolled this out a really long time ago, and it's 3 little emojis. It's a green, a yellow, and a red. And when we rolled it out, I'm not a big emoji guy. I'm like, whatever. Let's see what happens. And
You
it's
don't
been
send kissy face
phenomenal.
emojis or winks, all that stuff, David?
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, I feel like my seventh grade daughter, sending out emojis. Um, but it's been phenomenal for our business because it's a quick way for people to quickly rate you. And if you have a way, Todd, and the listeners, for you to implement something like that with 3 little, a green, a yellow, and a red, it's amazing and you track it and you do something about it, right? That's the
Yeah.
other key. It's amazing what it will do for your business because we let nothing, again, we're human, we're not perfect, but we don't let things fester. Something happens, catch it, take care of it, and just don't let things fester. And yeah, it's had a really, really, these 3 little emojis, I can't remember when we rolled it out. Must have been like, it's been over 10 years ago. It's had a really phenomenal impact on our business. It's fantastic.
Nice.
So
Nice. So at the top of the show, we tease that we have, the secrets, the two things that you need to do before you enter into Mary's world and avoid poor Mary what she did. So David, can you tell us the two most important questions that could have saved Mary from this and that, current RAs should be asking
yeah, so
before they?
if you're looking to work with a new IT provider, there's a lot of really good questions that you can ask, right? But the 2 top questions that you want to ask, and this will make the biggest impact, is number one, do you have experience working with other RIAs? And here's a typical response: no, but we work a lot with HIPAA.
Mm-hmm.
No, but we work a lot with banks. No, but we work
Mm-hmm.
a lot with you fill in the blank. They're like, it's totally different, right? It's totally different.
So
So
if they say no, it's a quick, okay, thanks so much, hang up.
I wouldn't even waste time. Yeah,
Got
I
it.
wouldn't, because
Yeah.
again, the challenges here are so unique. You're small in terms of a head count, but you require enterprise
Yeah.
security and IT compliance and stuff like that. But yeah, that's what I would do. I'd be polite about it, like, yeah, hey, thanks, bye. So that's the first question to ask. The second one, which is also really important, is, hey, who makes up the team that's going to be supporting us, right? Or supporting our RIA. So, everybody we have on our team is an employee. We don't subcontract to third parties or anything like that. And it's really interesting. I was talking to, potential new client last week, and they're just really frustrated because they work with an IT provider where the help desk is clearly outsourced, right? And there's just a
Mm-hmm.
huge disconnect, right? Well, and stuff like that. And so it's not uncommon for IT providers to pull in like bunch of companies together, and then they have a help desk, whether it's US based or not, or whatever, is kind of irrelevant. But I think you ask and you say, hey, who makes up the team that's going to be supporting us, right? Are they
Mm-hmm.
all employees? Are they contractors? What does that look like? And you'd be shocked by just asking that question, because you're making an assumption. And it's just it's fascinating. And obviously there's other great questions to ask, but these two I think are like key questions, because
Mm-hmm.
it'll give you really a lot of insight into that business.
Right. All right. Well, we covered a lot today. Big case study with Mary, and so David, give us the quick highlights again of what we should be taking away from Mary's story. Top three things.
Yeah, I think, listen, if you're spending a lot of time on IT and technology, and it's a headache, right? And it's draining you, not energizing you, it's probably time to make a change, especially if the provider you're working with does not work with other RIAs. Um,
Right.
whether you reach out to us or somebody else, the two questions is, hey, do you work with other RIAs? If so, are they similar to us in size? And then question number two, who makes up the team that's going to be supporting us? Like, do we get an assigned team? Are they employees? And so on. And so those are probably the two most important questions to ask.
Got it. Do you still keep in touch with Mary?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I do, I do. And so the way we're structured is, I don't talk to her that often because we've got a system in place. So there's a primary support
Sure.
engineer, but then there's a technical account manager. So he kind of does that. So I usually reach out to her twice a year because
Oh, nice.
I like her, and we usually get the feedback. So once a year we also like to get overall feedback and her insights and stuff like that. So
Nice.
yeah, I
Nice.
mean, listen, I've got here's the deal, out of respect for her, but I've got testimonials like, oh my goodness, David, this is night and day where we were and where we're at, and here's what I
Nice.
appreciate. And I also I also reach out to her to say, hey, we're working on, rolling out these things in the future. Would these be helpful for your business or not? So that's the kind of relationship I have. I don't talk to her a lot, but I do definitely connect with her like twice a year, at a
Nice.
very strategic level.
Great. All right, folks. Well, thanks again for joining us. A good, meaty topic of our case study today here on turning IT frustrations to freedom. So, again, there are several different resources that we're going to put in the description in the notes. So, make sure you download those. Also, we'll have it on the website. And so, again, go to our resources. And also, you can see the more podcasts that we've done in the past at riaworkspace.com and check out the Learning Center. That's where you'll see the transcript and all the other goodies from this episode. And so also we want you to, again, feel free to reach out to us with any questions or topics you'd like us to cover. As David said, we do read emails. And so like he does surveys, we do see these things. So please, send us those in there. And again, we want to say thanks again for listening to the RIA Tech Talk podcast brought to you by RIA Workspace. And so we'll hopefully see you next time here on the next episode for more RIA Tech Insights. And we'll see you later. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.